the new version of the Bloodline continues to wreak havoc on SmackDown. We saw them take things up another notch this week as it was Tama Tonga who viciously attacked Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens bleeding profusely, huge gash on his head. They're fighting all the way down, the ramp, and Owens tries to come back, but too much. The numbers are against him with Solo and Tama Tonga clearly on the same page as, Solo continued to refer to him as his MFT. And I think what we're seeing now is they are really leaning into the savagery of this unit now without Roman Reigns. And we know the continued teases we talked about, is Solo maybe feeling like he's playing the tribal chief role right now. Paul Heyman pointing out, hey, this isn't yours yet. You'll get there someday, but Solo, please, you're not the one making these decisions. While we know that he clearly is making these decisions, and you could even take it a step further down the line to say that maybe it's The Rock who is actually pulling the strings here, but for now, Solo is the one that has to carry this. And it's put him in a very interesting position because, he is the one that is sort of front and center every single week now, even though he does have the help of Tama Tonga. My prediction / spoiler, seems to be that Jacob Fatu would work great, especially in this sort of ruthless role that they're putting these guys into right now, where they will take out anybody, anytime, anywhere. Seems like a perfect fit to have Solo, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu all aligned together to get to what you guys know. I've said it many times now, the eventual six-man tag with Roman and the Usos, and however they reunite and get back together. So I think what you're seeing, though, with this group is that, again, they are really leaning into what you always need to lean into, I think, whenever you have these kind of heel factions that you're trying to get over. Because remember, this is not like just the Bloodline, right? Like the Bloodline got over. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo, of course, got over within that group. But this is like a new thing. Like you're trying to now put this fresh sort of group in front of people without the big stars, right? Without The Rock there, without Roman Reigns there. And I think what is so good about it is you force Solo, Tama Tonga, maybe Jacob Fatu, right? You force them to now be in those roles where they are the clear center of the universe now on SmackDown, assuming they stay after the draft, which I would think they would. And so they have to be the ones that continue to push the story forward. But is with a heel group, I think what's always important is they pretty much have to be kind of like that all at all costs, right? They'll do anything necessary, and I think they're leaning into that, again, showing that they will just go pick out a Kevin Owens. Again, if you're talking about there's someone giving the orders, and it's either Solo or maybe it's The Rock indirectly, those are things that you now go back, and anyone who's ever tried to wrong the family, right, you go back and get them, and maybe that's part of this. And we know, again, there's history there with Kevin Owens. There's history with a lot of other baby faces on SmackDown and Raw, and that's why I think it's going to be interesting to see what they have to do next. And my theory is I think you now find a way to get Jey back to SmackDown, which could come via the draft, or maybe you send the Bloodline over to Raw. I don't see that happening, but I suppose you could always do that, possibly. Nick Aldis kind of talked about consequences, perhaps, and those kind of things. So I don't know exactly how they play into that. But that was another interesting dynamic I think we have to look at is what exactly did Nick Aldis mean by saying there were consequences for more than just losing. So, they kind of had the thing where Tama Tonga hit Kevin Owens' car. And so I think what you're seeing here is this is a version that they're pushing to where they're trying to do everything they can to make sure that these guys are getting the reaction you want. And we also brought it up in the SmackDown reaction stream. They're cheering for Roman now. Like the fans want Roman because they're seeing that this is kind of the takeover, the hostile takeover, if you will, from Solo Sakoa and the rest of the group. And so I think you kind of know that Heyman's there trapped, as I said it. I think Heyman is trapped in this whole thing. He doesn't have a choice. He has to stay, and I think that's what's going to make things interesting because he kind of has to be the mouthpiece at times with some of this. But Heyman's, facial expressions, all this kind of stuff, the way he's playing off of it, like you have to have Paul Heyman there to push it forward. But I think you again are starting to see this sort of next evolution of the Bloodline. And I always thought it was going to be a challenge, like knowing that Roman's going to step away at some point for a while. And we don't know exactly when Roman's going to be back. You knew The Rock wasn't always going to be there. And so the hot period they had for the last several months, it was really a question of can they keep it going? And even if, they don't have the same amount of eyeballs on it without Roman or without The Rock, I think this is a great start so far the past couple weeks, really establishing Solo as this do anything type guy more than just the bodyguard now, right? Like he's not just the tough of the group. Like he is now the leader as it stands right now because he's the one that's there. And so, of course, they brought in Tama Tonga and immediately, I mean, this guy's like just, I mean, look at what he did to Kevin Owens, right? I mean, he's just like gnawing on him. Like he is trying, he's out for blood. That's what it comes down to. And so I think it's working really well right now. And I think that's where if they introduce a Jacob Fatu soon, which you guys know, I pushed maybe possible theories that maybe Jacob Fatu interferes against the Jey Uso, something like that. That's where you see the big debut to cost Jey the championship against Damian Priest. Always a possibility. Or, like I mentioned, they could always just get Jey over in the draft somehow. Then you introduce Jacob Fatu there. And so they've already attacked Jimmy. We know Jey is probably still on their hit list. Kevin Owens is there now. There are a lot of other people that could still be there, right? Randy Orton, Sami Zayn. There's a lot of other names that have had this history with the Bloodline. And so I think the way they're leaning into this, they are able to really put these guys over as sort of this new, kind of group that just can get over by kicking people's asses. And sometimes that's all you have to do. And I think especially with a group like this, you don't want everybody talking for 20-minute promos or anything like that. Like this isn't The Rock. This isn't Roman at times, right? And so you want them to basically speak what they need to speak with their actions. And that's what this version of the Bloodline is doing. And I think it's working great so far. But I also mentioned in the reaction live stream, they've got to carry this for a while. And I do mean probably a while, right? But the good news is you do have a lot of this past history with people. Again, whether it's Jey, you've got Jimmy you got to get back to. There's clearly something with Owens now. I think Orton could certainly be in the mix. Sammy's out there. There's so many ways you can still tell this story and keep pushing it forward week after week, whether on Raw or SmackDown, without Roman and without The Rock. And so, Cody's probably got to come back into this at some point because I said I think Solo and Cody probably have to have a match somewhere along the way for that championship. And so, I think that what they're doing now, I'm pretty impressed so far because I did not know exactly how they would handle this Bloodline thing after WrestleMania 40, knowing that Roman was going to be gone, knowing The Rock was going to be gone. But what they're doing right now is very interesting, and I think it's something we have to keep our eye on because we know there's another potential member to come, and I think we also know that the way they're pushing them with, like I mentioned, I think savagery is the right word. Like they are pushing them as total savages. That means you're getting unpredictability. That means at any time on any of these shows, these guys can come out of nowhere, attack someone, and I think that element of sort of suspense is really there with this version of the Bloodline that maybe you didn't always feel like you were getting towards the latter part of the last iteration of the Bloodline before you kind of got the road to WrestleMania, where, again, there were some dips in there. There's no question about that. The storyline hasn't been perfect since, for the last 4 years, but there were some dips along the way. But right now, they've taken things up to another level, and we'll see how it continues to unfold here. But I thought another big development this week, just with them showing that they will do whatever it takes to get after whoever they feel like has wronged them. And somehow Kevin Owens is now tied into that mix. So we'll see how the Bloodline continues to do things moving forward and when we get that eventual kind of clash between maybe the new version and the old version, but probably a little ways down the road. So let me know what you guys thought of this week's edition of SmackDown, specifically within the Bloodline. What have you thought so far of Solo and Tama Tonga kind of carrying this thing, and of course Paul Heyman with his reactions and just Heyman's been great, and I think he's got to continue to be part of this. However, they tie that in, which Nick Aldis did kind of tease something big could be coming on next week's draft version of SmackDown because pushing that consequences line and all that, he's up to something. Like something I think is going down on next week's SmackDown. So let me know what you guys think. As always, I appreciate you watching. Love the great feedback. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on your way out. But let me know your thoughts on the new version of the Bloodline. Couple weeks in, how's it going? Do you like it? Are you invested? What's next? Give me your predictions in the comments.